As most of you know, I've been elsewhere for most of this last year, and Elizabeth Christine, who is here in the circle, has been leading the Monday Mindfulness Meditation Group for the better part of this last year. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for holding this space and for bringing the group through the study of Thich Nhat Hanh's book on the Heart Sutra called The Other Shore, which is such a beautiful text. And as you may know, Thich Nhat Hanh, the anniversary of Thich Nhat Hanh's passing was just yesterday, a year ago. And so, kind of to build on the energy of his teachings, which are my own deep practice. He was my root teacher. I was given Dharma transmission by Thich Nhat Hanh in 1994 and joined the Order of Interbeing in the 80s. I thought it would be really nice to do a recitation of the 14 mindfulness trainings of the Order of Interbeing, which is the order that he started in Vietnam during the 60s in the Vietnam War era. As you know, Thich Nhat Hanh was a very innovative proponent of what he called engaged Buddhism. And he was a peace activist back then and all throughout his life, and motivated to really reach into the collective awareness of what was taking place in Vietnam and later in the whole world through his Dharma practice and applying his practice to make a difference. So he spoke a lot about engaged Buddhism, and in current terms, we might call it sacred activism. I fell in love with him originally because of this aspect of his teachings that seemed so important, to not just sit in our cushion in the comfort of our, living rooms, but to really engage our practice directly. I met Thich Nhat Hanh in the 80s. I heard him speak in Berkeley, California, on one of his first trips to the US. And then I organized a retreat for him on peaceful cultures at a place called the Ojai Foundation in California. It was really a powerful, seminal experience for me and for everyone who was there. And afterwards, I traveled to Asia for the first time to visit Buddhist countries, and ended up coming back through France and going to Plum Village also for the first time. And there I was invited to become a member of the Order of Interbeing. This was in 85. And so I joined the Order of Interbeing through these precepts, these mindfulness trainings. And it was before Thich Nhat Hanh started to invite people to take what he calls the 5 mindfulness trainings, which are the 5 basic precepts of Buddhism, first as a way kind of in, and then later, once you've been practicing for a while, to then take the 14 precepts of the Order of Interbeing. He was really a great innovator, Thich Nhat Hanh. And when he first started teaching, there weren't very many people following him, but he grew in fame and began to reach more and more people, and realized along the way that he needed to make the teachings applicable and fresh for new cultures and new people coming in. And he always encouraged us to go back to our home traditions and not to sacrifice our home traditions for Buddhism, but to incorporate Buddhism into our home path, which was also, unique for many Buddhist teachers. And so one example of his innovation was changing the word precepts to the word mindfulness trainings, because he was getting the feedback from people, especially who were Catholic, that the word precepts and the way that they were being, the language they were using sound a little bit like commandments. And people who are coming out of a Catholic tradition had a little bit of an allergic reaction to that sometimes. So he was interested in adapting them to be more acceptable and also more relevant to these times. It always fascinated me because the Dharma, the Buddhist Dharma, as it moved from the time of the Buddha in India into China and Japan and Sri Lanka and Thailand and Tibet, everywhere it went, it was changed by the culture and the time that it entered that particular part of the world. And so in that sense, the Dharma has been very adaptable. And now the Dharma has come to the West. And I've just been curious, to see, and we can see how things have changed and evolved since encountering these cultures in the West and these times. This is something really of interest to me, and I was reflecting on the quality of innovation that is how civilizations advance. That something has to change and even maybe break in order to allow for the new to come in. So I think about jazz music, for example, where you have the structure of the music, but then a great musician begins to innovate and improvise, and then it goes off into some amazing new direction. And this is kind of, I think, maybe what is called for today, as we face into a new time where things are quite unstable and big change is happening in many directions, if not every direction. So how can we be flexible and open and innovative, at the same time connected to the essential teachings, but bringing them to life in new ways that are relevant for now? That's something that I come back to over and over again, and invite you to reflect on that with me over time as well. But all of that said, so I was with Thich Nhat Hanh in those early days when he was sharing these precepts, the 14, the 5, and then when he began to change the language of them to be a little bit more Western, you might say, calling them mindfulness trainings instead of precepts. The thing for me, though, was maybe because I learned them this original way. You know how that is when you first learn something and it has such an impact. I really love the original language. I wasn't brought up in the Catholic Church, though, so I don't have the overlay of commandments. I find the mindfulness trainings to be a bit cumbersome, and I really like the simplicity of the way that the language is used in the 14 precepts. So today I would like to read them to you the way I first heard them. And if you're interested in occasionally going back and reviewing these over time, we could, so for example, next time we could share them as mindfulness trainings in the language that is used today. If you were to be a student of Thich Nhat Hanh's, these mindfulness trainings we're asked to recite them on a regular basis because they're like vows. You take them as vows, and you are asked, is this something that you have been practicing in the last period of time? And then silently to yourself, you sort of say yes or no. And of course, training like this is it's a practice, right? It's a training. You always fall down. You always have trouble keeping them, because they're, in a sense, an ideal. And we're not perfect, us humans. So we make mistakes and we have to keep practicing. But in any case, I used to, in teaching the Dharma, because Thich Nhat Hahn is such an important teacher, I would invite a group to recite these on a regular basis. We haven't done it in a very long time. So here we are. It's the beginning of a new year, the new lunar year, the year of the water rabbit. And I would very much like to invite you into a deep reflection on the 14 precepts of the Order of Interbeing. The Order of Interbeing. There's a book, which I probably don't have right here. The Thich Hien Order. It was founded in Vietnam, as I say, in the 60s. And that was when Thich Nhat Hanh kind of coined that word of interbeing, realizing, that we are all connected. And these are the kind of guidelines for how to live in harmony with each other and with the wider world, the wider community. So I look forward in our Dharma discussion after our practice. So we'll do the 14 precept recitation, and then we'll go into our sitting and walking and sitting meditation tonight. And then we'll open the circle for sharing. And during that sharing, I look forward to hearing any reflections you have on these, and we'll see where it wants to go. The name of the book, I believe, is called Interbeing. If you want to look it up. Is that right, Elizabeth? I think I gave you my copy, actually. You're muted, but you can go get it. Yeah. So I feel like I'm kind of jumping around, talking an awful lot, and not being terribly coherent, but I hope you are with me. Are you with me? Okay. Good.
Okay. Yeah. Interbeing.
Interbeing. Yeah. What's the subtitle, Elizabeth?
The subtitle is 14 Guidelines for Engaged Buddhism.
Yeah.
And it's got all of them in here and a beautiful discussion around them.
So it could also form the context for ongoing conversation in the next month or so, if you're interested. So why don't we start with the opening verses, and I'll start with a bell, and I think Rasul, who is also here, will recite the opening verses, and then we'll go into these 14 precepts of the Order of Interbeing. And when I recite them, I'm going to do it in a ceremonial way, reading them and then breathing. And I ask you to breathe with me, breathing in and out 3 times, deep and slow, in between each one, to allow the meaning to sink in without thinking too much about it, just to receive it. And then I'll read the next one, ring the bell. We'll take a moment to let that sink in and go on. So it'll be kind of a ceremonial experience. And just to say too, that when I heard these for the first time, it rocked my world. It rocked my world at this retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh so long ago. And I think everyone who heard them was deeply affected So once again, if you've never heard them, I will really enjoy hearing how it affects you. What comes up for you when you hear these? Find your seat as if we're sitting in a temple together in person. You've taken your seat on your cushion or your chair, feeling the presence of everyone else gathered around for this sacred time, precious time that we have given ourselves, time out from the rest of our lives to practice, to cultivate the Dharma.
Perfection of wisdom, mother of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and all beings, nourishing, holding, and healing all, great Mother Earth, precious jewel of the cosmos, to you we bow in gratitude. We take refuge in the earth as our teacher, the one who shows us the way in this life. We take refuge in the earth as an expression of the Dharma, the teachings of interbeing, understanding, and love. We take refuge in the earth as an embodiment of the Sangha, the vast, interdependent community of life in balance and harmony. Living within the web of life on earth, we dedicate ourselves to embodying awakened awareness on the path of healing in service to all beings. We dedicate our lives to realizing our oneness with Gaia. This precious human form is difficult to obtain and embodies opportunities and resources. Give us the energy to realize its potential. The ultimate foe, the Lord of Death, can come at any time. Give us the energy to live a life of no regret. The laws of the way things are work internally. Give us the energy to live without shame. Suffering is present in all 6 realms. Give us the energy not to take birth in these states. The reliable and definite refuges are the 3 jewels. Give us the energy to trust them. The 6 kinds of beings are as kind as my parents. Give us the energy for loving kindness and compassion. In the end, our mind is nothing but being as truth. Give us the energy to attain a stable understanding. May all beings enjoy happiness and the seeds of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the seeds of suffering. May they not be separated from great happiness, free from suffering. May they dwell in great equanimity, free from passion, aggression, jealousy, and ignorance.
Sisters and brothers, it is now time to recite the 14 precepts of the Order of Interbeing. Please listen. The 14 precepts are the basis for a happy life. They have the capacity to protect life and to make it beautiful and worth living. They are also the doors that open to enlightenment and liberation. Please listen to each precept and answer yes silently every time you see that you have made an effort to study, practice, and observe the precept read. The first precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not be idolatrous about or bound to any doctrine, theory, or ideology, even Buddhist ones. Buddhist systems of thought are guiding means. They are not absolute truth. The second precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not think the knowledge you presently possess is changeless, absolute truth. Avoid being narrow-minded and bound to present views. Learn and practice non-attachment from views in order to be open to receive others' viewpoints. Truth is found in life and not merely in conceptual knowledge. Be ready to learn throughout your entire life and to observe reality in yourself and in the world at all times. The third precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not force others, including children, by any means whatsoever to adopt your views, whether by authority, threat, money, propaganda, or even education. However, through compassionate dialogue, help others renounce fanaticism and narrowness. The fourth precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not avoid contact with suffering or close your eyes before suffering. Do not lose awareness of the existence of suffering in the life of the world. Find ways to be with those who are suffering, including personal contact, visits, images, sounds. By such means, awaken yourself and others to the reality of suffering in the world. The fifth precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not accumulate wealth while millions are hungry. Do not take as the aim of your life fame, profit, wealth, or sensual pleasure. Live simply and share time, energy, and material resources with those who are in need. The sixth precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not maintain anger or hatred. Learn to penetrate and transform them when they are still seeds in your consciousness. As soon as they arise, turn your attention to your breath in order to see and understand the nature of your anger and hatred. The seventh precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not lose yourself in dispersion and in your surroundings. Practice mindful breathing to come back to what is happening in the present moment. Be in touch with what is wondrous, refreshing, and healing, both inside and around you. Plant seeds of joy, peace, and understanding in yourself in order to facilitate the work of transformation in the depths of your consciousness. The eighth precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not utter words that can create discord and cause the community to break. Make every effort to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. The ninth precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not say untruthful things for the sake of personal interest or to impress people. Do not utter words that can cause division or hatred. Do not spread news that you do not know to be certain. Do not criticize or condemn things of which you are not sure. Always speak truthfully and constructively. Have the courage to speak out about situations of injustice, even when doing so may threaten your own safety. The 10th precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not use the Buddhist community for personal gain or profit, or transform your community into a political party. A religious community, however, should take a clear stand against oppression and injustice, and should strive to change the situation without engaging in partisan conflicts. The 11th precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not live with a vocation that is harmful to humans and nature. Do not invest in companies that deprive others of their chance to live. Select a vocation that helps realize your ideal of compassion. The 12th precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not kill. Do not let others kill. Find whatever means possible to protect life and prevent war. The 13th precept of the Order of Interbeing. Possess nothing that should belong to others. Respect the property of others, but prevent others from profiting from human suffering or the suffering of other species on earth. The 14th precept of the Order of Interbeing. Do not mistreat your body. Learn to handle it with respect. Do not look on your body as only an instrument. Preserve vital energies, sexual, breath, spirit, for the realization of the way. Sexual expression should not take place without love and commitment. In sexual relationships, be aware of future suffering that may be caused. To preserve the happiness of others, respect the rights and commitments of others. Be fully aware of the responsibility of bringing new lives into the world. Meditate on the world into which you are bringing new beings. I do have a poem from Cynthia West, who is our beloved resident poet laureate. So before we open the circle for sharing, I'd love to share this one with you. It's called When You Stand Alone. Walking out on thin ice, feet made of belief, eyes focused on far snowy hills, you carry secret promises, fragile as frozen water. Being heard would break them. Most of the time, you don't even mention them to yourself, for they are your true bones, formed before you were born. A unique interweaving of vows. They provide the fuel that sustains you, even though most days you are too loud, too busy to approach your central springs. They shape your real face, the one that shines under the masks others have sewn on you. Stepping across the winter lake, Listen to the water whisper under the solid surface. Flowing, it shelters reflections of the dreams you are here to deliver to the earth. Remember, when you stand alone in the middle, far from the shore, you can speak so quietly your hidden self can hear. You who forgot the truth you came to serve, admit it holds you up. As a cold sun sinks towards the horizon, it is not too late, no matter how thin the ice.